at the guy that replaced JFK, LBJ. A lot of people don't know that he came from a Christian Zionist family. His aunt, Jessie Johnson, and his grandfather belonged to I'm just going to call them a cult called the Christadelphians. And they believed that Jesus can't come back until the Jews have their own kingdom. Now, interestingly enough, Judaism doesn't believe that, but these people did believe that, and they also believe that if Israel is destroyed, the world will be destroyed. So this is the family that LBJ grew up in.
Is that similar to what Senator Ted Cruz
I,
believes?
it's there's a lot of them out there. They're called Christian Zionists, and I'd like to ask them, where in the Bible did Jesus say we have to kill, maim, and starve children so that I can come back?
Right.
I'm not a theologian, but I've never heard of that in the Bible, and yet we have millions of
Yeah.
Americans who literally believe that, and they're a
Yeah, I
problem.
don't recall that from all of my
Yeah,
confirmation classes, and every Sunday I'm sitting with my pastor. I don't ever recall that in the Bible, and I've read it.
I,
So
I do recall
I
him
don't
saying
quite.
this. He said, if you harm one child, it'd be better for you if they put a millstone around your neck and threw you in the ocean. Jesus said that. I remember
Hmm.
that from Sunday school. I don't remember this other stuff that these guys are going off on. But anyway, LBJ was raised in an ardent Christian Zionist family, and I'm going to call them wackos. I'm just, sorry to, step on anybody's religious beliefs, but I think it's kind of wacko. The other thing that we don't know much about, there was a guy named Bobby Baker, and people that kind of know that history know that Johnson, if you can see this in Life magazine, get the Life magazine before Kennedy was killed, the month before, and Johnson had a buddy called Bobby Baker. And Bobby Baker was, one of these, white collar criminals that was involved in all kinds of stuff. And they were positioning LBJ to be taken out, not by violence, but by scandal. And then, of course, the next month, Kennedy's dead and Johnson's president. Bobby Baker was connected to Meyer Lansky, one of the most brilliant criminal minds that ever existed. Um, but the other connection between Johnson and the Zionists was a woman named Matilda Krim. Uh, she was so close to Johnson that she and her husband had a bedroom in the White House. Like they visited that often. They visited the ranch often. They built their own place near the ranch so Johnson could visit them in his helicopter. She was a member of one of the one of the Zionist extremist groups, the Irgun. She assisted in smuggling weapons to Palestine against the law. Okay, then she became a scientist, and by the way, interestingly enough, she became a famous supporter of AIDS research. Fauci's realm. But in any event, Matilda Krim was extremely close to LBJ. When the '67 war took place, his wife was back on the ranch. Matilda Krim was in the White House in her own bedroom, presumably, and they conferred about what was going on. And she actually wrote a speech for him to deliver to the public about the '67 war. So LBJ was Zionist friendly, let's say. I think that's, as an understatement. He is also the man that said basically, I know JFK was pushing to, get into the labs and get into the research facility. I'm going to go soft on that. And they got the nuclear weapons during the LBJ administration. There was another thing that the Kennedy brothers were working on in the summer of '63, which was they really wanted Israel to register as a foreign lobbyist, Israeli groups, lobbyist groups. And JFK tasked Robert Kennedy, who was Attorney General at the time, with making that happen. And of course, they were pushing back, delaying, making excuses, blah, 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 blah. Well, again, we have to remember that's the summer of '63, fall of '63. Kennedy's dead. Robert F. Kennedy is effectively neutered because, now LBJ is the president. And LBJ let all that lobbying go. And to this day, the various groups that are lobbying on behalf of the Israeli government are not registered with the State Department. This is the
Right,
only
APEC
country in the world.
specifically, right?
England has to
Oh,
read, right? We're the only, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, but Israel still gets a pass on registering. These two things, nuclear weapons and the ability to bypass the foreign lobbying laws in the United States, are the pillars of the support that Israel gets from the United States. Also, Johnson was the first person to give offensive weapon systems to the Israelis. Nobody had done that before. And I think he 7x'd their military support. So we'd been supporting them. I think Eisenhower sent some rifles. Kennedy sent some stuff, but it was defensive. It was Johnson that opened the floodgates. So there's a connection between, and as you know, Clayton, there are books, many books that say Johnson was behind the assassination, right? And I think that's probably not right, but he certainly had to be involved.